Welcome. Welcome to Peace Podcast. Our goal is to help you increase your peace, happiness, and a kind of a healthy way of living. But you know, they are interwoven. If you're at peace, your health is good. If your health is good, you're at peace. And what about happiness? I'm Barbara Mueller, and I am delighted you have joined me today. I have a very special guest. I have known her for years, Dr. Geraldine Schwartz. Dr. Gerri Schwartz was my husband's and my favorite person in Canada. And the reason is she's a Visioneer. You're going to find out what that is. What is a Visioneer? Why is she so excited about what she's doing today? She has had six decades, and I wasn't going to say that, but that just proves how important she is. 6 decades of being a professor, of being a college workshop leader, of working with positions in departments, founder of projects, and a business owner. And the business owner is something that we're going to talk a little bit about because it works with the brain. It helps us understand that our brain can do more than we ever thought possible. As you listen today, you're going to come up with questions, and you're probably going to want to read her book. Her book is called Journeys of a Second Adulthood. It's a gorgeous book. It's a woman's search for the higher ground, 21st century viewpoints on the human condition. This book can be purchased, and it is just beautiful. So I'm not going to say too much more. She has an important message, and I want to spend our time listening to that message about how understanding the evolving power of our mind is the intention, putting our ideas out there by intention rather than by accident. I have been talking to her and taking pages and pages and pages of notes because I realize my enthusiasm comes from something very special. And she's going to explain that to us. Dr. Schwartz, welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to speaking to your audience, not in my usual way, but open-hearted, soul to soul. And I'm going to actually do some teaching. And if I were talking on a platform with my colleagues, I would have charts and slides and a whole bunch of things that they like to see. But I'm not going to show you any of that. Instead, I'm going to explain to you in ordinary language some very important new discoveries, how you can use that information in your own life, and what the Visioneers is all about, and how these two things are related. So let me start really quickly. We're living in extraordinary times. The pre-pandemic planet emergencies were present: climate change, difficulty with people migrating from place to place, poverty, homelessness. I don't have to identify those. You know about all that. So we were in planet emergencies before this pandemic, and so-called flourishing economically. And then we were exposed to a new kind of enemy, an enemy that crossed all barriers. It crossed borders, national borders. It crossed borders of class, of age. Nobody was exempt from experiencing this pandemic, whether they actually got sick or not. Now, after this pandemic is over, as it will be sometime, the economies of the world will be in disarray. And we'll be in a post-pandemic new normal world, which will demand creative responses, just the way after the war, after World War II, in 1945, the world was in disarray, and that generation rose up to the challenge magnificently. And the question is—
very encouraging words, Gerri. Rising up to the challenge. Maybe I'm not aware that I can do that. So you're probably going to tell us how awareness can happen. Please do.
Okay. So the question is, will we have the guts to solve problems in a new creative way? Because going back to the past situation is not possible when the planetary emergencies are now magnified many times. So here's what I have to say. First of all, you should know that there is a huge difference between a phenomenon that is confirmed by science, like the world is not flat, and a phenomenon that we have the gut feel that this is right. because some of the things I'm going to tell you, you will feel that you know, and I will be very happy about that because it will just resonate with who you are. So here we go. In responding in a creative way to this new planetary emergency, which is global, few of us will first step forward first because human intelligence is evolving. It's very important to understand, and this is science. Our brains are smarter. Every generation following is smarter. We are the first generation of billions of us being literate, going to school, having experiences and working the way we do. And with this digital revolution, the ability to connect with each other, regardless of how remote or far away we are. So our brains, like right now, we're learning to respond to this new situation, regardless of how young or old we are. Our learning center, which is one-to-one on site with hundreds of hours of teaching, in 10 days, turned around to become a virtual teaching organization. You know, and I am amazed to see how the younger kids, even the littlest ones, and the ones who have learning challenges, were able to accept this challenge.
Now you're saying your learning center. Your learning center is in Canada. It's a center for children.
It's Center for Children with Learning Difficulties and Learning Differences.
Got you. Thank you.
So in any case, since our brains are evolving and we're continuing to learn, and as we learn, we're getting smarter. A few of us are going to step forward in a very creative and courageous way. And then there will be many, because it will be so self-evident that you'll have, you know, the world will move us from the margins to the mainstream. So let me tell you some things about your brain. You are sitting there watching me with about a 3-pound brain in which there are 100 billion neurons in that small space. And these neurons are so small that it takes a magnification of more than 100,000 times to see the exquisite machinery of each of these neurons. Every one of us is the most incredible thing in the universe, and that's what science tells us. Now, here's the next thing to learn. We are living in an energetic cosmos, on an energetic planet, and at the basis of every material thing, including us, is energy. And our brain is a dual function energetic system in which there is a rational side built up over years of learning, of going to school, of experiences, of culture, of knowledge. This is the rational side. This is the side that you are most comfortable and used to talking to you in whatever language you understand. But there is an ancient part of our brain that, although it is mostly set aside, is equally powerful. This is the emotional, intuitive side of our brain that has been evolving for millions of years. And it too is becoming more powerful now. Now, here's the thing. Here is the new discovery. We have discovered with our incredible technology, neuron-like cells, millions of them embedded deep in the heart and in the gut. And these cells have direct connection with the intuitive side of the brain. So when we quiet the rational dominant side of our mind, and we allow the whispers of our intuitive self to speak to us, and they don't speak to us in words necessarily. Some people hear the voice of God, but that's a very, very, very few of us. Most people are in touch with that intuitive side through how we feel that we're on the right path. And so we need to understand the language of our emotion as well, and pay attention, because here's the thing. This consciousness is connected to the world in its energetic system, and it will tell us who we are as our authentic selves and what we're meant to do here, and what the choices we make, whether they're right or wrong. So you have experienced this energetic, intuitive self by accident if you've ever been in love. You walk into a room, you meet this person, you're sort of blown away by the energy that's hitting you, and you don't know what hit you sometimes. But you go away and you say, that was really good. And if you're lucky, it lasts a lifetime. Okay? Or if you're a mother and a child comes into home after school and they've had a bad day, they don't have to tell you anything, because the energy is, just because of the connection you have, the energy is very clear. You know, they need nurturing. So here's the thing, okay, that this authentic self, if you act on it, if you listen to it, and here's the thing, not by accident like falling in love, but with intention continuously, then your brain will flood with the neurobiochemical ingredients of happiness, of bravery, of courage, of expanded mental vision, all the things that we need right now more than anything. We need to be creative in how we solve the problems that are facing us. And yet we have the most powerful, extraordinary ability to do this if we quiet down and listen.
Are you saying we should quiet down the rational, logical side of our brain so that this intuitive side can help us solve the problems we are facing today?
Exactly. Because this is the source of soul-based knowledge. If we are connected with our consciousness to other sources, and we don't know because this is an energetic universe. Okay? So if we are connected through our intuitive, authentic self. And if we've come here to do something, and if we have gifts and talents that we have to use, then we'll see them loud and clear. It will help us make choices in relationships that are right for us. It will help us make choices in work, what we need to volunteer. And that's why it's so important.
It's very interesting how you say when you're in your authentic self, you're happy. You're more energized. You're more able to solve problems which maybe to another person would seem impossible.
Okay. So here's the thing. Enthusiasm, enjoyment, joy comes when you're doing the right thing for you. It's not the same for everyone. Some people should run a marathon, and when they're out there running on the track, terrific for them. Other people are sitting quietly and writing poetry. That's terrific for them. But here's the thing that I want you to know, because this is so important for our future, the future of this planet. When you connect with other people who are also listening to that authentic self, the two of you have incredible magnified power. And when you meet with a group of extraordinary people, your own power is moved to its potentials, past its margins, and the things that you can do together are incredible. So if we want good outcomes, if we want to do something different than what we did before in the world, then we need to work together with other people who have this ability to do this. Now,
well, Gerri, you're going to be introducing us to other people who have the same ability. And I know it's called the Visioneers, right? Are we on the right track?
We're on the right track. You get it, Barbara. Okay. So a Visioneer is going to be a person whose soul-based... Barbara, it's disappeared. Am I okay?
I'm right here.
Okay.
The International Network of Good Work and Virtual Expo will be providing open virtual space to gather a new kind of community. This is what Gerri's talking about, to bring in a new kind of community. That's what the Visioneers are. Okay.
So what I'm looking for is I'm looking to now connect what I have been telling you with the community that we have been building, because we have been building a next generation.
You're doing
okay, great. Sorry, because I lost my view. I'm good now. Okay. So here's the thing. When you're working in this very powerful way. The things you can accomplish in whatever your path is extraordinary. And when you work with other people, then it's magnified many times. Now, what we have done is we have created a platform, a next generation virtual space, and a virtual expo with connect functions that showcases and celebrates evolved people whose magnificent achievement must only come because they have been working from their power base their whole lives, whether they know it or not. So, for example, people who are on our space, like Dr. Bernie Siegel or Dr. Larry Dawsey, these guys have had a lifetime of extraordinary work doing exactly what they should, even before the science was consolidating their perspective and telling them they were right all along.
And look at the results. Bernie has talked about solving, dangerous chemical dependencies. He's talked about curing people from cancer, but he's so soul-based and he has them work to the future. Sounds like that's kind of where you're leading us, Gerri.
Yes.
We should be thinking about our future.
So the Visioneers International Network is a web of good work where we are building a virtual expo with extraordinary examples of people and projects. And they are using this power base to do what they're doing. And I'd like to give you an example or two just of the wonderful people that we have on our virtual exposition.
That would be great.
Just to say about a virtual exposition is this is the future. These are the expositions and the museums and the libraries of the future. And so we're building it in this time, and we're ingathering the family of people whose values say they want to leave the world a better place than they found it.
And then we have examples of how we can do the same by going to Visioneers.
Okay, so here's a magnificent example of a young person who's on our site and on our youth team. His name is Aaron. A few years ago, he made an appointment with me, comes in my office, a beautiful young man, sits down on the chair and says, "Do you remember me?" So I'm a terrible liar. I didn't remember him, I had to admit. He said, "I was here when I was 8, and I was a complete failure. I couldn't read, I couldn't write, I couldn't count. I was a failure in school. And you fixed me. And I was here for a long time." Long story short, he, of course, graduated high school with honors, very difficult for a person with learning differences. And he has an undergraduate degree from one of Canada's best universities and a master's degree. And he's now involved in his home base in Vancouver at our university doing a PhD. But here's the thing. He had a gap year. And you know how young people like to sort of wander around the world when they have a gap year? Well, he went to Africa, ended up in Uganda, in a community where he was seeing that the kids didn't go to school. And he wondered why. And so, investigating as he was curious, he found that they didn't go to school because children 5 years old and older had jobs. And the jobs were to take a pail, empty pail, and go for a couple of hours to a clean water source and bring it back so the community could survive. So he went and found a way to dig wells in the village. But he went a step further, and here's what Visioneers need to do this step further with this new power that I'm talking about. What he did was he got these old shipping containers and he dragged them back into the village to make a schoolroom. And old computers that nobody was using. And he was a techie kind of guy. And he created an app with teenagers reading children's stories into this app while the kids were holding their earphones and listening, and the text lights up as the words are spoken. And these kids were learning to read. Well, this was a phenomenon that you would not believe. Now, these school houses are built of some light balsa wood called a light box. They're powered by solar panels, and they are put in refugee camps supported by the United Nations, in which They have the special ability to charge cell phones in these refugee camps where they don't have these power sources. And so the little bit of money they make makes them self-sufficient. And this year, he taught 35,000 children to read.
That's fantastic.
Now he's in India and Africa, and it's replicable in any village that needs that.
So if we wanted to find out more about the school bus and his learning, we would go to your website, right?
Exactly. It's called the Walking School Bus.
Mm-hmm.
Just click and it'll tell you the whole story. But we have almost 100 already stories on our website, extraordinary like that. So we're very interested in projects that could be replicable in other places. And the other thing that we're very interested in is in honoring and celebrating and showcasing the extraordinary people among us. And we have an array of 11 categories across all human activities: environment, education, health and wellness, etc. And at the top, the most prestigious award is called Heroes of Humanity. And to get into that category and get an award, you don't have to be alive, but your contribution has to be living at this moment in time. So one of our most extraordinary people is Dr. Robert Mueller, an old friend of both Desmond and I. So we know he is an authentic person who has been working in his heart space forever after. So here's this extraordinary man, worked for 3 secretaries general at the United Nations, a founder of 11 out of the 33 agencies that are working out there in the world today. The World Health Organization, in a COVID-19 moment, how important is that? And the World Food Bank, and all these organizations that are out there. What an extraordinary gift to humanity by this single.
He definitely was my late husband, and he's definitely in his heart space and his soul space. And I wanted to give your website because people are probably saying, I got to go to that website, www.thevisioneers, visioneers.ca. And you can find information about Dr. Mueller. You can find information about the school bus. And that is a story, Gerri. A young man who couldn't read, who was a mess, and look his contribution, because you took him to a new place of learning and the ability to use his soul, heart, and mind.
What he said to me, Barbara, is that you taught me to read, and now I'm teaching children to read.
So beautiful.
It's his contribution. You see, he could make all kinds of contributions. He's a techie kind of guy. He's going to have a PhD, but he's out there with nonprofits doing these things, and with us, with the Visioneers International Network. So if you choose to allow the inner voice of your authentic self to speak to you and to help you with your choices, in that space where the heart can speak directly to your mind, this will change your life. It will give you a life of meaning, happiness, joy, the energy to act. And here's the thing. Here's a community of people, the Visioneers International Network, Web of Good Work. We are a community of change makers who welcome any of you who share our values to make the world a better place by our creative, authentic contribution. We want you. Your presence is welcome. Your contribution is welcome.
You're listening to Dr. Gerri Schwartz, and you will be amazed at the conversations I have with this amazing woman, for her reaching into the visionary perspective each of us could bring to this planet. It's just amazing how one person can teach so many people. I bet you've taught hundreds of people to become more than they ever thought possible. Is that correct?
Yes, we call that transformation. Exactly. We transform their future. And these ideas, if you really understand what they are, and you quiet your mind and think about your own contribution, can change your life too.
Thank you. You know, wow. If you think about those words, it can change your life too. If you let that rational side of your brain that may be judging you, maybe judging others, maybe judging the world, just let it go and try to quiet it down so that soul, heart, neurons that Gerri talked about can evolve to the point where we can use your contributions that you were born for. I am so delighted to thank Gerri. Gerri, you are a special woman, and you know that. And if you don't know it, I'm going to tell you again. She is one of my dearest friends. We were in Canada together, Robert and I. She has such an incredible passion, excuse me, for a world that works for all. Gerri, you have the last word?
All right. I guess what I want to say is, don't be afraid to dream and to have a grand vision. At this point, I feel that I am a global elder with children and grandchildren whose future I'm very interested in. And it's my job to make sure this is as good as we can get. But I'm also a poet, and my next book will be called The Journey of Elderhood. And I thought I'd read just a few words.
Why don't you read a few words, Gerri, because we're about out of time, and it is just such a pleasure to have you. Would you be able to read just a few words about elderhood?
Yes, because what I'm saying in this is past a dream. We need to act with intention. We need to rebuild. We need to recover, reimagine. We need to create a new connected living world to enhance a divine future where peace and justice, respect and prosperity joyfully coexist. That's the world I'm looking forward to. It is the world where we have a holy mission to build on the noble, the wise, and the seeming miracles of our moment in the human journey, to create a wondrous future full of grace that we can actually imagine.
That is so beautiful. Thank you for reading that. It really does summarize what you're all about. Thank you, Dr. Gerri Schwartz. I am Barbara Mueller, thanking you for joining us on the Peace Podcast. And I hope you will invite people to sit down and listen to Gerri. Bring your computers, your iPhones, and pay attention to what she's telling you. Do you realize how powerful you could be if you quiet that rational side of your brain and let that emotional and intuitive side come forth? Sometimes you're only given a 3-second window, but that 3-second window, pay attention. Sometimes that window will teach you what you need to know and put you on the right course for our future of our planet. Thank you for joining us. I'll see you again next week. This is Barbara Mueller thanking you, and I'll see you again. Bye for now. Remember, peace begins with each of us. Thank you.